What's going on? Today is Tuesday, August 22nd, and we've got a trade review. So I just uploaded my trades. There were three trades today here from Webull over to TradeZella, and here's what we got. So three trades. The first trade of the day was at 9:23. It was on AMD. I'm going to walk through each and every one of these, and we'll talk about them and what I was seeing. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the trade replay feature here just to kind of walk through the real time of what I was thinking inside of these trades, but I do want to use the feature and log these guys properly. So first things first, we had this AMD trade. This trade was a trade to the system textbook, looking for the downside, breaking to the downside, and it was nice. The only thing on this trade, though, was that I ended up getting stopped out. Now, I'm not going to regret where I got stopped out, but I ended up getting stopped out with partial profits. So I had three contracts. Two of them I took for profits, and then the third one, I believe, or the fourth one, I think I had four contracts. And then I sold, one of them. Yeah, I had four contracts. I took three of the take profits, and then the last one was one to ride, which ended up stopping me out just around my entry point, only for it to pretty much roll back over and go for more. So let's go through a trade replay here. I don't regret this at all. But I'm going to pull up the trade replay and we're going to walk through this guy literally live as if we were taking this trade. So I'm going to go to 30x speed so we can see this. I'm going to go to 5-minute candlesticks so it's a little bit easier to look at. And let's rip it. So I did not trade, and I can fast forward this. I'm just going to kind of go over the background here. So here's AMD, right? Been a stock that we had been watching the past couple of weeks, obviously, and this was a stock that was weak on the day. So here's the open. The market opens at 8:30 my time, so we have a big move to the downside, and we see AMD dropping. So AMD was up in pre-market. Now it's red. Look at the top left. Now it's down. So I didn't trade AMD at the open. I actually traded AMD nearly an hour after the market opened. So let me pause this, and let's move this dial over closer to our entry point to talk about what I was seeing and then what we decided to do. So 9:13 a.m. is where we're at. AMD is now down just about 1%. So here we have, I'm going to pause this, right? So here's what I noticed. Big move down. It is at the time one of the weaker stocks, if not the weakest stock on the day of my 10 stock list. And then I say, okay, wait, we've got a spot right here that is going to be an area to watch as a potential breakdown zone. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add in, let's go with a horizontal ray, and let's make sure it's nice and fat. Boom. Cool. There it is. So I'm looking at that and saying, okay, that's the spot to watch. If we were to break below that, I will be interested. Okay. Because we put it, nice move down, bouncing, consolidating now into that level. A break of that level gives us momentum to the downside. So that's what I was looking for. And shortly after that, AMD is putting some pressure on that level. And then I believe AMD ends up breaking that around 920 to 925 right here. Okay, let me pause this because I was I'm now in. Okay, see the entry right here? I'm now in on this break. I was semi-cautious about this because I was like, well, to be honest, it's a decent candle break. I like when they stay nice and tight. So high and tight or low and tight. And then what I mean by low and tight is essentially, I'm going to go to the white here and make this a little bit easier to see. Now, I want to see AMD put in pressure right here. I don't want to see big candles like this. I want to see it putting pressure on the level, right? So that's what I mean by low and tight. This wasn't perfect because you had, this candle broke from close to the top of the consolidation range, which is not terrible. But I backed my way in. I picked a contract that if AMD gets above this high, this wick high right here, then I will stop out. So what is this? This is a prior support, turn resistance. We break that. That will invalidate our downside thesis. That would invalidate the trend to the downside, and I'm going to get out. So I picked September 1st contracts. It's August 22nd. That's next Friday. I picked those contracts because they gave me the volatility that I wanted, about a 10% risk from when I got in to this stop loss. I think it may have been maybe closer to 12, but it's close enough. Give or take 10%, and that was the deal. So that's what I was looking for. That's the initial trade on AMD. The contracts I entered at 275 per contract, and then my first sell was around 296. Now I ended up selling on this candle here. Now it's not a big move. Why? because I was actually looking over on level 2. I was actually looking on Bookmap, which I'll talk more about maybe later on, just kind of trialing them for a bit. And I saw some pretty substantial orders sitting around 106. And so as we're coming down towards 106, I'm like, in case we bounce at 106, I want to start being proactive and taking some profits. So that's why I took the first contract off kind of early. Push down, we break down below 106. I took the next one off. And then I see us kind of bouncing around this 106. And I'm sitting here like, I'm going to take this next one off again. So I took off the third contract at that because I'm saying, okay, what if we bounce here? What if this ends up being support? I want to make sure I'm proactive. I then set my stop loss for break even and my take profit for, essentially if we were to break down into the 105s, and literally walked away. Not walked away, just on the phone doing something else. And then this eventually came back and broke back to the upside, hitting my stop loss and stopping me out on the remainder at around break even on the last contract. So I took 3 contracts off for take profit, and the last contract stopped me out roughly at break even. So that was essentially what happened on this AMD. There it is. That's where I got stopped out. Now, what you'll notice is that if you watch this play out over time, which kind of hurts, it came back above my entry point and then started to roll over here. There's nothing you can do. I look at these and I say to myself, what was the situation? Could I have held through this? You could have. If I were to pull up maybe the VWAP, maybe there's the VWAP, the volume weighted average price. Maybe let's pull that up and see where it lies. Yeah, we're still way below the VWAP. I can't, risk it back to the VWAP. So I'm not going to be mad with that stop out, because you got to stop out. I don't want to see this thing go red on me. So I'm going to stop out at break even on the last piece. And that's it. Just secure the profits and move on. Now, if you were to play this out over time, it's now 1140. So let me move this along so you guys can kind of see, what ends up happening. Later on, as the market kind of progresses, you see that AMD ends up ultimately breaking down that 106 nicely, going to those new lows. And it would have paid nicely. It would have paid even more. But it is what it is. You can't win them all. It's not going to work perfectly. And so you got to do the best that you can with what you see. And that's what I was seeing. And so that's what I did. So that was the AMD trade. Hopefully that trade replay feature was cool to look at. And I think it's good to kind of look through that live and see how that works and kind of talk through it. Okay, next trade was on DIA. This is actually a fine trade, just a stop loss. It was a bear flag to the downside. It was to the system, so I'm going to play all that, log it in. Let's go back to that trade replay. This is fine. This trade it is what it is. I'm not going to be pissed about this. It just didn't work the way I want to see it work, and I'm not going to, be pissed. That's just how I'm going to play it. So I'm going to go closer to when we got in this trade around, let's go to 10:05 a.m. So I'm looking at the Dow Jones, and essentially I'm seeing that this level, this low on the Dow is an area of interest. So I want to get in on a potential short here on the Dow underneath low of day. This is a spot that on the 30-minute chart looked nice, 15-minute chart looked nice, and my stop loss on this is going to be right up here at the recent high of this consolidation. This is a 1-minute chart. It looks like it's pretty wonky. Go to a 5-minute chart, a little bit cleaner, a little bit nicer to look at. So this is what I see, and this is when I shortly took a position on the downside break here. It ended up just breaking down to low of the day. You'll see on this candle, I believe it is coming up any second. And that's where I got in, and then it snapped right back up. So momentum was not really there. This ended up being a pretty short trade. It bounced up, and then if you let things, let me adjust this to get closer to the end of this trade so you can we don't waste too much time on this one. It kind of holds this level. I could have noticed that and been like, you know what, I don't want to be in this. But I stayed in it and was like, okay, I'm going to stop out when we get above the high of this recent range. And so that's what I did. I stayed to the plan, and it is what it is. Wasn't a huge loss. It was just, it was a loss nonetheless, though, on DIA. So give it a second, it'll pop up, and then eventually it'll take me out at the 10:26 mark. It's 10:24 now on the time scale, and 10:25, 10:26, and here it comes. Pop, broke the level, got out, and ended up going for more. So I can't complain. I'm happy with that trade. Now, going back to, let's go to the next trade on the list, which was Tesla. This is also a great one to the system. It was a bear flag, so 3 bear flag plays pretty much today that I was looking at. And let's look at that trade replay feature as well for the Tesla trade. This is where we made 125. The Dow trade, we only lost like $60, so it wasn't a bad loss. But okay, So let me just adjust this guy. Let's get this guy loaded up. We're looking for 1030 was my entry point. Let's go to 1025. Okay, cool. So what do I see on Tesla here? I'm watching the chart. It is what it is. It's doing its little thing. And then I'm saying, okay, Tesla, you break these lows. We like you to the downside. And that's what I saw. I didn't get in right away. This is your 1 minute candles. Let me go to the 5 minute chart. But I got in shortly after it broke to the downside on the 5 minute chart. So zoom this bad boy out. It's kind of like the textbook of what I look for. You have really nice, trending movement to the downside. That's a terrible. That was, of course, in like brown when it should have been darker. Okay. Nice movement to the downside on Tesla. Break a nice low. We have pressure. It's just pressure. I like what I see. So I'm in this guy, and my first take profit came about 35 minutes after the entry of the trade, which is kind of crazy. But this thing really, it back tested a little bit up in here upon the entry, but not much. So I was in drawdown for maybe like a few minutes. And then we started to push to the downside, and Tesla starts to break down. This is a situation where I probably could have started to be proactive in locking in gains. This is a big enough move as it is. I was up over 10% in the position, but based on my risk, which was going to be this candle right here, this high, that was about, I forget, 10 to 12% risk. So I was looking for at least, 12 to 15% take profit. And so that's what I was looking for, which ends up coming shortly. Boom, that take profit hits. And I only had 2 contracts here. So it wasn't anything crazy on these contracts. And then I had, at that point in time, once that first one hits, I set stop loss to break even. And I put the next take profit at, my entry was at 350. I took my first take profit at 4, meaning that I made about $100, which is about what I'm risking here. One R is $100 to me, based on my risk management right now. And so that's how I kind of backed into this trade. I would have had to risk about $100 for that stop loss. So it's okay. I want to take profits at $100 on this trade. And then we have the move, or we have the range to do it on Tesla. So I took first profits at $4, which would mean if I took them both off, it'd be $100 profit. And then the next one I took off at 425. So I made an extra $25 on that last contract. I was happy with that. And it ended up being good because we ended up pretty much getting, not the bottom. The contracts went to like 450 or 460, but very close to the bottom on that candle. And then it snapped right back. And so Tesla's bouncing back up as we speak. And so I'm glad that I took out when I did on that trade. So pretty happy with what we got. Let me pull myself away here to show you guys the current look. We're still red for the month. I'm pretty much expecting this month to be red, but you never know. We string together a couple of good days like this and we could be green. I don't know. I'm just, I'm expecting it to be based on how things went to start things off and the initial increase in size a bit that we had to play with from the past couple of months, and just kind of figuring out our position sizing properly. So that was the deal. We're still operating with a 1.26 average win-loss, and we're at a 37.5 win rate, which is not good, but I'm hoping to get that closer to 50%. I don't think it's going to get there, but closer to 50 by the end of the month. If we can get closer to 50, there's a chance we can go green on this. We'll see how things go. Obviously, we're going to need some good trades, but no reason to push the pace. Going to let the strategy play itself out. Keep learning, keep journaling, and we'll see what we get. So that was a longer trade review, I feel like, but hopefully it was helpful walking through kind of live, step by step. Again, links, resources to all the stuff down below, TradeZilla, all that stuff. I'll use it in all the videos, and I'll link it down below in all the videos because I actually used it. Thanks so much, guys. Hopefully this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.